And
we have not really talked about the Republican debate, which was last Thursday. And Amy, you are a Republican strategist.
Yes.
So did you think there were any winners? Do you have anything? I'll tell you, before you talk, I'll tell you exactly how I felt. It seemed to me that with all of these people, the fact that in 2007, the discussion is still about abortion.
Yeah.
There isn't a year of an election when we're not back to that same subject.
Well,
anyway.
you know, it's a passionate, emotional issue for both sides, and for both the Democratic Party carrying, you know, the pro-choice torch, and the Republicans carrying the pro-life torch, and we have the Supreme Court in the balance. But as of Thursday, what I thought was most interesting and sort of a little frustrating. I like Giuliani. I'm pro-choice. You know, I think he is America's mayor. But when
You're
it came,
Republican pro-choice.
well,
Okay.
I'm actually registered independent, but I worked for Bill Frist for 3 years, so I did work for the Republican Party. But to see how uncomfortable Giuliani was at this stage in the game with issues of faith, even as someone who's not that religious, this guy, I wanted to tell him, like, get in a church, go to a big mega church in the Midwest or Baptist barbecue down south.
Because like, you won't win without that.
Right, exactly. And, you know, if you're going to be a national
he has a
candidate,
problem because he is trying to straddle the fence, whether it comes to about the question of right to life, or he was for right to choose when he was mayor. Now he's kind of saying, yes, I am, but if the Supreme Court turns over, has judges who want to turn over Roe v. Wade, I can live with that. What about evangelicals and the Christian right? Well, I can, you know, he's trying to do both, as is Mitt Romney. I mean, you see that.
Flip-flop.
Flip-flop.
right, well, I mean, Giuliani, he's not
watched it.
flip-flopping so much, but he is trying to make evangelicals feel more comfortable with a pro-choice candidacy. And interesting, in the polling data, he's ahead among Republicans. So the press keeps talking about, oh, his pro-choice credentials are going to really sink him in the Republican primary, but that's not at all clear at this point.
Well,
And there was no winner.
let me say that there was no winner. I watched it, and there was some of the great minds of the 19th century there. Three of these guys do not believe in evolution.
You know who
okay?
they are?
Well, I know Tancredi is one of them.
One of them is Mike Huckabee, the former governor of Arkansas, who was, I think, was he not a pastor? Do I have that?
I
He
don't
used to
know.
be fat.
He used to be fat.
Well, that'll do it.
I mean,
One was
wasn't he
Sam
a
Brownback.
pastor? He was fat.
One was Sam Brownback, a senior U.S. senator from Kansas, and one was Tom Tancredi, who is a former member of the House of Representatives. They were asked, do you believe in evolution?
How could you not believe in evolution? What type of retro thinking is this?
A lot of Americans
it's outrageous.
believe in creationism. A lot of Americans do. Most
please.
Americans consider themselves Christian, go to church. This is not
You can
such
be
a
a Christian and still believe in evolution.
Sure, that's possible too.
But I mean, for a president of the United States to not believe all the scientific information that we have on that topic is so retro. I could not even believe my ears.
Well,
and then, wait a minute. Mitt Romney, may I say that he is on the George Hamilton tanning continuum? This guy needs to stop tanning himself,
There
okay?
has been some controversy over the man tan.
Yeah.
They're also, MSNBC have a gripe with them. They do not tell you who these people are all the time. Sometimes they tell you, sometimes they don't. Who is Duncan Hunter? And do you call him Donkey? Who is Duncan Hunter? He was one of the people.
California.
You saw his name once, and then you didn't say it again.
California. And actually his son, who I believe is a Marine, is running for his seat.
Does he believe in evolution?
That I don't remember if he raised
Where
his
do
hand or
these
not.
people,
That's the
I mean,
deal-breaker.
anybody who says, I want to be a candidate, hello, I want to run, can run. You don't need credentials. You don't even need, at this point, money, do you? What do? You just say, I don't know what the rules are. Hello, I want to run, and they put you up there as part of the debate?
But isn't that so great about American democracy?
Yes, it
that
is.
any one of our citizens can come forward
But
and
then
say, I want to
why
lead.
aren't there 397,000 people standing up there? You know,
Meanwhile, we have a Bush dynasty, we're going to have a Clinton dynasty.
Eight on the Democratic side as well. I mean, it's a full field. You don't
It's
have
about money. It's about money.
I really would like to find out if anybody can just automatically, you know, be a...
They should be running on public funds only and not be raising all those dollars, because
I
that's
agree
what's
with that.
killing us.
Campaign finance reform is essential. Yes. It's essential for democracy. And also think about what we could do with all that money raised just in national health care. Just think of that, you know, because it's such a waste. It gets bigger every year.
You know what? They never solved the health care crisis in this country because 80% of Americans are insured, and they do not want it to change. The insured are the problem. I was reading that just this weekend in the Times, because the 20% that don't have it don't have as much clout is the problem.
You know, today there was an interview with John Corzine, who is a governor of New Jersey, who was in that automobile accident, and he is really all all banged up. He's got more ribs, legs,
No
everything.
seatbelt and a 92-mile-an-hour
He
crash.
says it was his fault. So, but he's very, very rich man, and he is paying for not using insurance and paying for all of the recovery. And he said, you know, the government shouldn't have to pay for my problems. Well, he has a lot of money. And I think commendable, because he could have.
Right.
It's one of the reasons that people like the mayor of New York. He happens to have been a wonderful mayor, is a wonderful mayor, Mike Bloomberg.
Yeah.
But he also says that if he does, he hasn't said, but if he runs, he'll use his money.
Well, he gets paid $1 to be the mayor of New York. $1.
Well, he can afford it because he's rich.
But many people who can afford it would never do that. So bravo to him. $1.
We love him. He would be a great president, Bloomberg.
I just wanted to say that I made a mistake last week. I said Giuliani was married to his first cousin. He was married to his second cousin. Apparently that, I know. People wrote in like, you're horrible. How dare you say that?
Marry their
I just made a
cousins.
mistake. It was the wrong cousin. It was his first cousin's kid or something like that.
Listen, Rosie,
but
a lot of cultures say that it's okay to marry your second, third cousin.
Yeah,
That's not that unusual.
Our culture, it's legal.
And it's not considered incestuous either.
To marry your second cousin? So how come it's such big news?
Because it's kind of
off the beaten track. They're looking forward, because Giuliani is now the front runner, and because he has so many very good credentials, you know, you got to try to find a little something wrong here. That's the nature of the way we are.
A little second cousin marriage that's hidden or something.
But how can you trust Giuliani when first he's not pro-choice, then he's not pro-choice? I mean, what are you talking about?
Say this about almost any
He's been consistent on that. He's been consistent on being pro-choice. Where you get into some of the, you know, the thickets of the issue is federal funding for abortion, and that is going to really hurt him because he said he was for
the Hyde Amendment.
Yeah, and, you know, you can't ask necessarily evangelicals to use their taxpayer dollars to have another woman have an abortion, and even pro-choicers sort of know that.
I don't want to pay taxes to fund the war, but I pay it. So what's the difference? What is the difference?
The difference is we're talking about our national security and this is a private decision.
You know what? Since this war, let's not start with the war, but since this war is illegal in my view, then I am paying for an illegal war. If a girl in the middle of nowhere wants an abortion because her brother raped her, I'll pay for that. I'll pay for that with my taxes. Why is that different?
Well, you can pay for that. You don't necessarily have to pay for it with your tax dollars and coerce other citizens to pay for that. If you want to pay for that, you can give it to the Planned Parenthood. You can give it to any number of people that would help that. That would help that young lady.
I do that.
The National Abortion Rights League,
even if you change the law, it won't matter if you give it to Planned Parenthood. I mean, it might help, but it's not going to change the law.
No, we'll have wire hangers again, and women dying of hemorrhaging in back
alleys. It's already protected abortion.
You have three of the major candidates now, Mitt Romney and Giuliani and John McCain, in various issues, and we could go, well, I did say that, but I don't mean that. It is the nature of politics.
Sure,
and you have to, you know, you have to kind of take what they say and hold their feet to it.
An honest person. That's the truth.
And they never do what they promise anyway. They promise during the election, they get in there and they forget all about it. Before we go, we have to go to break. And of course, you all know tornado, Greensburg, Kansas, 90% of the town destroyed. Our love and thoughts with them, everybody. Let's send a little money their way. We'll be right back with more Hot Topics after.